The Yuletide season is here, filled with colors, energy, and the familiar bustle that signals the close of another year.
It's that time of the year when people get busy, market gets more sales, and everyone just wants to close the year strong.
For many, December brings excitement, but for others, a quiet pressure to tick boxes left untouched since January.
In the race to finish well, many people often push beyond limits, forgetting that peace is also an accomplishment.
Some get agitated, anxious, or desperate to prove something before the calendar slips.
But the truth is, no achievement is worth your safety, your finance, and your peace of mind.
Your journey is valid, even if everything didn't go as planned this year.
Celebrate your progress, protect yourself, and move wisely through the seasons, temptations, and rush.
Let December be a month of gratitude, intentions, and clarity, not fear or unnecessary pressure.
Step into the Yuletide, heed this clarion call. With calmness, wisdom, and joy we ride. Staying alive is the greatest achievement of all.
All of us at SOUQ News TV, welcome to the Christmas season, a time of reflection and gratitude. Stay safe and remain grateful.
Welcome back to Just Africa. We apologize for that breaking transmission. But we're back live. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. And of course, follow the Just Africa show on YouTube. Just subscribe and like and comment. We're still talking food security and how we can make agriculture still very much attractive. We've talked so much about the downsides and most of the things that have been hindering it. But perhaps after our conversation, we'll be able to see and spotlight the opportunities therein. We still have Dr. Osamaze Idahosa with us, and how do I put it? He's been making us feel like we're not seeing the opportunities so much, and the bottlenecks that exist are stifling. Doctor, welcome back.
Pleasure to be here.
While we're off, we're still talking about the problems that exist, and I'm here scratching my head. I'm seeing like these things look like solvable problems, but we always seem to look at or see the excuses around it to mask it. Why is that so?
Yeah, it's still an issue that a lot of third world still have to deal with. That we don't see economies around most of our conversation. We only see politics around it. So the day we start to see economies around what we're talking about, then of course we now begin to think and see how do we leverage and scale what we're doing. So the point I was making is the fact that you still have issues with access. We have problem with access. Access to land is a big problem in most Africa. And that's the greatest hindrance. So if you wake up today and say, look, I want to be a farmer, even getting the land first and foremost is a problem. And then also having to get loan is a problem.
Yeah.
Now, support and technology is a problem. Somebody told me that if you plant 1 acre of land, rice here, what you get is about 3 tons of rice. But if you plant that same 1 acre in Thailand, you will get 16 tons.
What happened?
Good question.
Yeah. Improve seedlings. So they got better yield. So doesn't it surprise you that foreign rice sell cheaper than local rice?
Sure.
Because they have better yield. You imagine the cost of logistics of moving the rice from Thailand to this place, clearing out the port, and yet the one you buy you do from your farm is cheaper.
Expensive.
Why? Because they have better yield. Technology support. So all these issues are bottlenecks that needs to be taken away. And then, of course, like I said, if you make agriculture sexy, a lot of people will get into it.
Yes, how do we overcome the issue of land? Because many people want to go into farming. Just as you said, I want to go back to my village and start a farm, for instance.
I want to go back to farming.
So if having access to farmland is a problem, there should also be a solution to it.
Yeah, I still feel that the solution lies more in state policies.
State policies?
Yes, in state policies. You see, let me give you a very comprehensive example. And again, this is where, as a country, we treat more symptoms than root causes. So we look at a symptom and then we try to see how we deal with the symptom, but we don't look at the root causes of the problem. When I was growing up as a child, the places we saw as forests in my village, today, people are living there. It's like a city. Those were where my parents were doing farming. Why? Because population has increased. And as population is increasing, we are not thinking about how people are going to live together. And that was what I was saying while we're off. You see, if, for example, we are projecting a population of about 450 million people by 2050, 2050 is about 25 years from now. 25 years will be like yesterday. You might want to calculate when you left school now. You see, you're almost 45 years.
Yes.
So we are thinking 25 years is forever. Yeah, just like yesterday.
Yes.
Now, nobody is thinking where those people are going to live. So what do you still see states do? They are still giving C of O or 60 by 100 plot of land, which is a waste. Why in advanced environment in Asia, people are thinking of building vertically.
Yes.
But we're still building horizontally.
Developers are coming and, some developers...
Yeah, but you see, this is a fundamental problem. So that we must also look at how we utilize the land that we have. Because every other thing will increase. The only thing that cannot increase is land. It's a fixed factor of production. So elementary economics tells us that if population is growing geometrically and land is not increasing, then of course definitely you're going to have a problem with our land access. And what state ought to have been doing by now is to see that, look, we stop giving people C of O to say somebody is buying one plot of land and building a bungalow in there. So state needs to reclaim this land and say if there's going to be residential area, we create residential areas, then also create farm zones.
Okay.
That places you don't do anything.
Yeah, so
farming.
it's purely farm zone. It can be 400 acres.
Yeah, but
or hectares of land. It's a farm zone. And then we build farm communities in there where food are produced.
So the value chain remains in that
in there,
place.
within that place. So we have to invest in then, of course, in the value chains within those neighborhoods. So that if we are producing mango, we are producing fruit, whatever it is, then you have a company that will be adding value to these things. So that the community people, even if they don't have a small land to farm, they will have some factory work to do where they can still earn a living. That they don't need to depend on subsistence farming. So these are the things that state must have to be thinking about at the moment. Now, there are practices that are happening in Nigeria that can be very, very weird, that you can't see anywhere. Where, for example, we find some retired generals, lands are given to them with certificate of occupancy, massive land with C of O for 99 years.
Yes.
Oh, yes. True. So these are practices that you find that are happening with this.
It's absurd to even think about it.
Oh, yeah. It happens. So these are things that we have to discontinue. We must understand that, look, our population is going to increase. And that's why people talk about sustainability. Because Nigerian, our own idea about sustainability seems to end with environment. There are three angles to sustainability argument. There's the planet angle, there's the people angle, and there's also the profit angle. But nobody pays attention to the people's angle. Nobody pays attention to the profit angle. So when we talk about the environment, climate change, that's not what sustainability is. We're saying, how do we live well today and ensure that our children and our children's children live well tomorrow when they are valuable? That we don't use up entire nature and then leave them to suffer in their own time. Or to deal with diseases, which of course our pleasure will cause for their living tomorrow. That's what sustainability argument is all about. And I think that government need to take this very seriously, because that's the only way to solve this problem. Now, when you go to places like in Taraba, places like in Benue, places like in Plateau, where you see these header farmer class, what's the problem? Because the originally designed grazing route has now become living communities.
Yes.
And the animals are still having it in their head that this is the route where we need to pass. But when you are passing that route, you are entering into somebody's swamp.
And then the person complains that you are encroaching into his own space.
So proactivity is what we need. And the only person who can do that is the state. Individuals can't do it.
Yes.
And that's the real, because if you look at the conception of the state, the origin of the state as propounded by Thomas Hobbes or John Locke, one of the arguments is the fact that we need the government as an arbiter who mediates between the conflict that likely will emerge between individuals who live in a certain community of land. So we need government to play that role of an arbiter. To say, well, because of the projection, we are expecting more children to be born. These children will eat. These children will go to school. These children will have access to medical facility. Therefore, we are thinking about tomorrow, not today. And then we make policies and laws to protect land and ensure that we can continue to do and produce food for ourselves. So, but unfortunately, those things, I don't think we think about it so much. So when we are looking at people are appointing as minister or commissioner, did you see people talk about agriculture as lucrative ministry?
That's where they used to settle the party people.
And they forget that everybody will get hungry.
Because we don't say it's lucrative because it's not economic to us. So I think that freedom needs to first come, where we liberate agriculture from the zone of poverty and make it something that is profitable, and also think about it that people must continue to eat, whether we like it or not. As long as we are giving birth to people, they will continue to eat. And if people must continue to eat, therefore, we must make policy that deliberately will make farming move out from what it used to be and create a new agricultural mind shift where we have investors who are agripreneurs, as we call them today, coming into to really create the food and the value chain. And if community don't have land to farm, they can work in those farms and then earn a living.
I was gonna ask, how do we now get young people to like these things? Because again, they are the future farmers, or they're supposed to be the future farmers. It's supposed to be a continuum. Otherwise, when the food finishes, we'll start to eat ourselves. If we can create more farmers, what skill do they need to also start to learn from now?
You see, it's again a function of what we can do collectively. Yes, of course, we have to rework our curriculum, first and foremost, so that when people get into study agriculture, it will not look like the way it is today in Nigeria, that people go to study education out of frustration.
That's true. I agree with that.
It makes it bleak.
I agree with that.
Because a lot of people go to university and they're in education faculty, not because they want to become teachers.
You don't want to have them.
Because they have been frustrated so much by JAM.
Not speak anything.
And then, of course, anything just work and say, well, this system, we can study anything and then become anything. So this is the problem. So people don't go to study education because they want to be teachers. Same, people don't go to study agriculture because they want to be farmers. People go to study agriculture because they feel that, look, computer science didn't give them admission, Engineering didn't give them admission. Medicine didn't give them admission. And they have written down 3, 4, 5 times, and they shall end up nowhere to do something and just earn a certificate and then use it to look for a job. So this is a problem. So we have to change that mindset.
From school?
From the society. So if we have a school of agriculture, for example, then of course they have to focus teaching what kind of agriculture they want to do. But it must be agriculture that that environment can accommodate. Take for example, if you go to Bangladesh, their greatest value is in garment making.
Okay.
Every single university in Bangladesh studies technology in farming, fabric technology, textile technology. So all those things, the courses are designed around cotton farming and garment making. That's where the value chain is. So if I want to design a curriculum and say, okay, I have a University of Agriculture in Zamfara or in Kebbi, I'm going to design it in such a way that all that they are going to be studying in that place is how to produce rice and groundnuts, for example, or how to produce cattle. Not a global school. Because there are some fruit that may not do well there. So they're already used to producing onion, beans, rice. And then we train them on how to make this thing into a business that is quite lucrative. That when they leave school, that they are not even thinking of
going to look for
a job. That they, by the time they graduate and they are given certificate, then they have a farm already where they are working as managers. That has been created. So we create a demand for the certificates. So they manage the farms for agripreneurs. That's one side of the conversation. So we have to alter the curriculum. So we just don't teach people that the man who is even teaching you agriculture has never had a farm in his life.
Just read it in a book.
Same.
So yeah. So that can produce results. So we need farmers to intervene. So that even if you are going to treat agriculture, you are going to bring in farmers as teachers who are used to these things. And then of course you bring in researchers who are going to research and see what's the condition of our land, what kind of fertilizer that we need. Now nobody does soil testing. When we were growing up as children, there were soil testing.
Yes.
To look at the alkalinity and the acidity of a soil before you plant and determine the kind of fertilizer you are going to use in that soil. Nobody is doing that anymore. So these are the things that are missing. And if we don't supply this missing link, it will be difficult for us to actually have a breakthrough in terms of food production or food security as it's called today.
I'll see that as knowledge. And talking about knowledge, the young people also need the knowledge of technology. Now, we no longer want the normal traditional way of watering farm. We're talking about irrigation, using drones, using helicopter and all that. Is it in Rwanda, their system, Rwanda or South Africa, thereabout, their system of agriculture has gone beyond what any other African country is practicing right now. So I just want to drive it a little bit to Nigeria. The knowledge of technology. How can technology help boost our farming system? Away from just fertilizer. And I know fertilizer has been there for a very long period of time, but with the advent of AI and other forms of technology, and people don't really have so much knowledge of that. That is another factor. So how do we go about this and help boost our farm produce?
These are part of the conversation that will be ongoing.
Yeah.
We need a lot of investment. You see, people imagine or think technology as machine most of the time. Technology is not machine. It's a shorter ways to get things done. So when you are looking at technology, you're not thinking about technology as if we are producing caterpillar and producing drone. That's not what it is. It's beyond that. It's people thinking and said, okay, how do we shorten the process so that we can get quick results?
Yeah.
That's technology. So I'm thinking that, okay, if I plant corn, I need 3 months. And I'm asking myself, do I really need 3 months? Are there things that I can do to reduce it from 3 months
to 1 month or something?
To 1 month. So we shorten the process. So that's what technology will do. And a lot of all that is already happening in the West. And I think also we don't need to actually reinvent those wheels. We all just need to buy them. But they are expensive, which again brings us back again to access. So these are the things that we see. You still find that, yes, you may talk about it, but when you go to the Aurora, you still see they are still doing the whole cutlass.
Yes.
It's not different because same process. So what is missing here is the fact that where we should have our comparative cost advantage, we are ignoring it.
Okay.
If you read the book written by Lee Kuan Yew, From Third World to First World, he felt disappointed when he visited Ghana that the Ghanaian president at that time, Kwame Nkrumah, was celebrating a young man with a first class in classics from Oxford. And he said in his head he was thinking, so a country whose comparative advantage is in agriculture, having their best in classics, and he feels as a misnomer. So why we should have been celebrating our best in agriculture, we were celebrating our best in classics? So this guy read Latin, read Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, and had first class. And he said, what would that add? What value would that add to your community? So I was wondering. That was the best that was presented. So, but he feels that as Africans, our comparative advantage should have been in agriculture.
Agriculture, yes.
And say, how do we develop the value chain of agriculture? That's the point. So that we are not all planting.
Okay.
We are not all planting. Some are processing. Some are trading. Some are buying. And all these form entire value chain.
Yes.
And so that's where, of course, the curriculum will be designed around. That I'm saying, okay, for example, what am I going to be teaching? Rice planting, rice processing. So people earn a certificate on how to process rice, even how to bag itself, how to control pests for rice. That's what people earn certificate. So that when you now have big farm, these people can go there now to use their skill, which they earn in school, to do farming. So that is what it is.
So you certify each of the value chain.
Oh, yes. And this is what the problem is. It's just recently we saw that today now Nigerians are saying, okay, we can no longer be studying computer science. Good as, what is the meaning of computer science really? Many of our universities are still studying computer science. What does it mean? And we are not able to actually train children. Either they are data miners, either they are data analytics, either they are network operators, either they are back-end developers, to actually give them a skill that this person go to school and he spent 3 years or 4 years in a university or polytechnic, he comes out as a data scientist, or he comes out as a network operator, or he comes out as an AI engineer.
Instead of the whole...
Let's say that the person is studying computer science, and you do a little of this, and you become jack of all trades and master of none.
Okay. You said you have the mass communication as well.
Oh, yes. Almost all the disciplines, it's now we are trying to see how we can...
Exactly.
Yeah, but even at that, we have not still been able to perfect it in such a way that you are teaching somebody broadcasting and you don't even have broadcast equipment.
And all you have it. They don't give access to students to use it. Okay, so doctor, quick one. I know Amolo is checking his time. But you talked about technology reducing. We can actually use technology to reduce the time a plant is supposed to mature. For instance, like the instance you gave, 3 months, what can I do to ensure the plant gets to maturity at or within a month? Now, how about the nutrient value? Does a plant who takes 3 months to maturity, does it not have more value or more nutrients than that stayed for just a month? Now, why am I saying that? I want to use chicken as an instance. When you go to eateries most of the time, you discover that their chicken, the chickens are always very soft, including the bones. You understand? So people tell you that maybe they just stayed for just 3 months, and people tell you that it's not healthy enough. So doing that to crops, would the crop not have side effects on the human for just staying for that period of time before harvesting?
Yeah, but again, it's a product of research.
Okay.
It's a product of research. See, it's like when people get into pharmacology, you produce a medicine and look at what are the contraindications, what are the side effects of this medication. Now, when we do our research properly, we'll be able to understand that if we have this kind of SOUQ News in the body, what will be the side effects? And then, of course, we can be able to determine what quantum of it do we need so that we don't take the side effect. So this can actually be done via research.
Okay.
And that's why we should have research institutes. But unfortunately, again, it's difficult for people to invest in funding research, especially in the third world, because we don't see the immediate gain of research. So for us, it's like a waste. So everybody begin a business without feasibility studies. We just sit there in one corner and say, or maybe he's doing tailoring and he bought a Jeep. So me too, I want to buy a Jeep. So I'll just do tailoring. See, so we don't do feasibility studies. This is a problem. So if you have investment in research, some of all these issues that you are talking about, we can even now say, okay, we have to do it very well. There's something that is trending now, and I think that was around the Kaduna, some certain things that happened. When some people came from the West to kill our, what do they call this thing now? Why did I forget?
Ginger plant.
Ginger.
Okay,
Ginger.
Okay.
We are the best in the world. The best ginger in the world. But people came to help us improve it.
Improve it?
And they destroy it completely.
Yeah.
Well, that's not improvement now. They came to kill it.
Oh, yes.
No, but they came without these guys.
So they came that they were going to help us improve it.
Yes.
So they came and they brought in some chemicals and put it. Now our ginger market has been destroyed.
Our ginger is not even spicy enough.
Yeah. So we didn't need those people to come. We needed to see the research. It's not everything that people give to you. You just take.
Yes.
Yeah, in public administration, they call it institutional isomorphism.
They'll come and tell you they want to empower you with fertilizers.
You're taking something from another place and
owning it,
adopt it, hook, line, sinker in your environment without really even checking whether it's good for you or not good for you. But we need local and indigenous researchers who are well funded. See, it's unfortunate. We are talking about AI today, Abi.
Mm-hmm.
Go and check the history of AI. It's over 20 years old.
Before it became what it is now.
Today, yeah. People have been investing in it. I remember some years ago, myself and my boss, we went to see late Megwali in Lagos Business School. And we're having this conversation around development. And he told us a story of how late Abacha wanted Philip Megwali to come to Nigeria. And he said, the man said, he was calling Ike to help him reach Philip to be able to come to Nigeria. Even if it's 1 hour to just talk to the youth and go back. And the man said he couldn't come because there was so much money that America has put on the ground for him to make the telephone of tomorrow such a way that when people can go for a meeting and have a meeting virtually and shake hands without seeing themselves face to face. Today, are we seeing Zoom?
Are we seeing Zoom?
Team?
Google Meets?
Started years before Abacha died. Somebody was investing in that research. So, African leaders must understand that knowledge is power.
Yeah.
that, like Madison once said, anybody who wants to be their own governor must arm themselves with the power that knowledge gives.
Wow. Okay,
we're in school, I ain't gonna lie.
Yes, I still want to ask one more question. That is, based on the existing policies, do you think the policies are favorable to farmers enough, or what do you think our leaders need to do right now? That is my final question. I know you've touched it, but I want you to re-emphasize it because we cannot talk less of it.
I think we need to strategize.
Okay.
Okay.
And when you are strategizing, you can't sit down in Banana Island and be thinking for how the people who are living in Ajegule should live.
Like the cassava bread analogy you gave us the last time.
Yes, you remember. my mother-in-law is stark illiterate. The president was announcing and said, going forward, we will be eating cassava bread. And the old woman was looking at him and said, does he have a farm? I said, it's good for you. They said, but where is the farm? Because even we that are older planting, before they harvest it, somebody has come to buy the farm.
Exactly.
So exactly. Come for the cassava.
So the people who are thinking, they're not even in touch with the reality on the ground. So for us to be able to make proper policy, we should get to where the farmers are. Not portfolio farmer who go around with handbag and go from ministry to ministry and say they are farmer, from bank to bank taking loan. And they give them loan, they marry more wife and buy new cars. Those are not the farmers. We need to be in touch with the real farmer who is in the farm and understand what are these challenges and how do we help them solve these challenges. So we cannot assume it. It has to be empirical. And I think this is where we need government to be able to intervene. But as far as I'm concerned, land conservation is one area where we must have to put a lot of emphasis so that we're not wasting land, and we're also thinking that people are going to come tomorrow and they will need to farm. You see, those days, my father will farm in one plot of land. He moved to the next plot the next year, moved to the next year, moved to the next year. Before he come back, this one would have followed and then started. And they really didn't need fertilizer. But that luxury is gone. And there's no way to recreate that luxury.
Is there hope at all?
There is hope. If people can think about hydroponic farms, there is hope.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Idahosa Osamaze, for bringing so much wealth of conversation and so much facts. And I mean, I'm wild and I've learned a lot today. I do hope that those who help with these policies are listening, because these things can happen and they should happen. Yes. Or maybe your final thoughts. I mean, this is the last one for the year as well.
It's the last one, and I'm glad that it's Dr. Idahosa that came on the show.
So everyone's having a minute, with all this wisdom that he brought.
You understand? So there is really a lot for Africans to do. Like he said, we cannot just sit down, fold our hands, wherever you are, and you're comfortable, and you are making decisions for the people who are there, out there doing the work. Yeah. No, if you want to make policies, you have to fold your sleeves and put your hands in the mud. Yeah. Now, putting hands in the mud here now, we are not asking you to come and be a farmer, but you have to relate with the people. Then what are those people in other words? See, importing rice is cheaper than buying Nigerian-made rice. Does it make sense? That's my take anyway.
I mean, my final thoughts would be, we need to stop thinking about just the now. Because very, very, very vital fact, what would our children eat in the next 50 years? Where would they live in the next 50 years? Otherwise, if we continue at this pace and we're fixing just the now, sooner or later, the continent will begin to beg other continents to survive. Yes. And that is not sustainable at all. Anyway, this conversation reminds us that Africa's food future depends not only on land and labor, but on voice, visibility, and value. Of course, we've had around conversations that shows that when farmers are heard, informed, and connected, of course, agriculture becomes a path to dignity, income, and national resilience. We expect the outcome to be clear. Governments must support farmer education and extension, Of course, we, the media, will play our part. We must tell real agricultural stories. And of course, young Africans must see farming as a business with multiple entry points. When agriculture is understood, respected, and modernized, it becomes a foundation for Africa's economic independence. Thank you all so much for being a part of this very robust conversation, and of course the last Just Africa episode for the year. We will come back again in the new year, which is just a couple hours away, making it sound like it's too far. But we're going to come back with more enlightenment, more conversation, more insightful conversations that would help the continent to grow. I remain Emmanuel Amolo, and of course from all the Just Africa crew, from all our cinematographers, Joseph, Gabriel, and of course our friends from the MCR, Gladys, and of course Godson. You all have been great. It's been a wonderful 2025. Of course, we'll be going back better in the year 2026. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Just Africa Show. Bye for now.
Africa is on the rise, and at the forefront of its growth is a sector as old as civilization itself: agriculture. Once marked by subsistence farming and challenges with food security, agriculture in Africa is now experiencing a powerful transformation. From the fertile lands of Nigeria to the tea fields of Kenya, agriculture is driving economic growth and lifting millions out of poverty. African governments and internal investors are taking notice, pouring in resources to support smallholder farmers and expand sustainable farming practices. Digital innovation is playing a major role in this transformation. Mobile apps provide farmers with crucial information on weather, market prices, and crop management. These digital tools are empowering farmers to make informed decisions, increase their yield, and get fair prices for their produce. Now I know when it rains, I can plan my planting better, and I know where to sell my crops for a good price. It's really changing our lives. We are committed to investing in agriculture as a pillar of our economy. Our goal is to make farming not only viable, but a source of wealth and stability for our people. African countries are also scaling up for exports, especially in high-demand crops like coffee, cocoa, and cashew. By focusing on quality, Africa is capturing a larger share of global markets. But the transformation goes beyond exports. Across Africa, new farming techniques and policies are helping to meet domestic demand and reduce reliance on food imports, contributing to food security across the continent. Women are also a key part of Africa's agricultural revolution. They make up a significant portion of the agricultural workforce, and initiatives are empowering women farmers with resources and training to enhance productivity. From subsistence to sustainability, the future of agriculture in Africa is bright. With innovation, investment, and resilient communities, Africa is sowing the seeds of prosperity.
Cocoa has more than tripled in cost over the past year and is up 129% this year. The rise in cocoa prices is likely due to a global cocoa shortage. Climate change-induced drought has ravaged crops in West Africa, which contributes around 80% of the world's cocoa output. According to the International Cocoa Association, global cocoa supply will decline by almost 11% over the 2023-24 season. The world produces nearly 6 million tons of cocoa beans each year, and consumers may begin to feel the impact of this shortage by the end of this year or early next year. Nigeria's cocoa earnings in the first quarter of this year surged by 279%, driven by a sharp increase in its prices in the international market. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBC) indicates that in the first 3 months of the year, the value of cocoa exports totaled 408.66 billion naira. This represents an increase of 279% from the 179.5 billion naira recorded in the first 3 months of 2023. When compared to the preceding quarter, total cocoa exports increased by 138% from 117.29 billion naira recorded in the preceding quarter. Despite the significant depreciation of the naira in the first quarter of the year, the dollar value of cocoa exports saw a significant increase both year on year and quarter on quarter. There was a 63.3% increase in the dollar value of Nigeria's exports between the fourth quarter of 2023 and the first quarter of 2024. Using the closing rate of the dollar to the naira at the end of December 2023, cocoa exports for the period stood at $188.83 million. This increased to $312.19 million at the end of the first quarter of 2024, using the exchange rates at the end of March. Year on year, the dollar value of exports in the first quarter of 2023 stood at $223 million. Bayo Olaoye, SOUQ News.
The Yuletide season is here, filled with colors, energy, and the familiar bustle that signals the close of another year.
It's that time of the year when people get busy, market gets more sales, and everyone just wants to close the year strong.
For many, December brings excitement, but for others, a quiet pressure to tick boxes left untouched since January.
In the race to finish well, many people often push beyond limits, forgetting that peace is also an accomplishment.
Some get agitated, anxious, or desperate to prove something before the calendar slips.
But the truth is, no achievement is worth your safety, your finance, and your peace of mind.
Your journey is valid, even if everything didn't go as planned this year.
Celebrate your progress, protect yourself, and move wisely through the seasons, temptations, and rush.
Let December be a month of gratitude, intentions, and clarity, not fear or unnecessary pressure.
Step into the Yuletide, heed this clarion call. With calmness, wisdom, and joy we ride. Staying alive is the greatest achievement of all.
All of us at SOUQ News TV, welcome to the Christmas season, a time of reflection and gratitude. Stay safe and remain grateful.
To start with, let me give some introduction to myself. As you said, I was a former commissioner of finance. I was a commissioner of finance during the Ganduja's administration from June 2015 to October 2018. I was there for 28 months, okay, as a commissioner of finance. And I had been with Bayero University, Kano, before I was appointed commissioner of finance. Still, I'm a professor of accounting in the university, but I double as a commissioner of taxation because at the Prince Abubakar Audu University, Ayumba, Kogi State, there was a chair that had been vested there by the Federal Revenue Service in 2011, and they invited applicant for that chair, and I was the successful person, successful applicant. So I still occupy that chair, even though the chair is not functioning, but I got the privilege of serving as the elected or selected professor of taxation in that university. So I am in the area of taxation. I have done a lot of researches in that. And then I serve as the Federal Commissioner of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. So it was on 15th November that our tenure came to an end, from 2018 to 2024 November. So you can see that I have been involved at various levels on the issue of fiscal policy, tax revenue generation, tax revenue utilization. So this the reform that we are talking about was brought about by the president with a view to maybe perfecting the tax system in the country. So he formed a committee to advise him as to how to go about coming up with very good national fiscal policy, not just tax policy, and then how to reform the taxes in the country to make them better so that Nigeria can compete with other economies that are advanced in the area of utilization of taxation as a means of growing up the economy and achieving sustainable development. So this I know. The process and all that have gone into this project of reform. So bills were developed out of the report of that committee appointed by the president under the chairmanship of Mr. Tayo Oyedele. And for the first time in the history of forming a committee in Nigeria, we had a committee that the president has given the power of implementation. So it's not just about recommending something to him. It is about coming up with a report which will be convincing to him, and if he's convinced, he will ask them to be involved in the implementation of the recommendation of the report. So I think that is why the committee just presented the proposed bill to him without taking this bill to the public domain. Because of the trust that he has on the committee, he just sent the bill to the National Assembly for consideration, for passage into law. And in the bill, they even gave deadline as to when the bill to be passed into law. They expected that the National Assembly would deliberate on this committee, on this bill, to the extent that the bill will be passed into law before 1st January 2025. So that by 1st January 2025, the content or the provision in these bills will begin to be implemented by the government. 4 bills were developed and proposed. And then unlike the expectation, the comment you made that people are more concerned about the administrative, tax administrative bill. What the bill that is generating the highest controversy is the Nigerian tax bill. That is the bill that has made provision for repealing about 11 taxes that are currently existing, including the VAT itself, including petroleum profit tax, including personal income tax, including companies income tax, and other taxes like capital gain tax, casino tax, etc., etc. And then about 14 laws that are related to taxation, including laws that are designed to exercise control over consumption, over production. They made substantial amendment on them, and then take the amended aspect, amended part of those laws into the Nigerian tax bill, which means that the laws have suffered from, or they have enjoyed consequential amendment. So this bill, which is expected to become an act by 1st January, is now becoming an amalgamation of most of the taxes that Nigeria is using now. Most of the taxes, those that have been repealed, part of them, part of the provision in them have been injected into the Nigerian tax bill. Those that have been considered for consequential amendment, they are also captured in the Nigerian tax bill. And then they made a lot of paragraphing, creating part, creating section, etc., etc., to the extent that the content of that bill is about 220 pages. So you have to develop the stamina. You have to be used to reading before you read everything from the beginning to the end. And if you don't do that, you may miss a lot of things. And you may be talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. And unfortunately, that is what is happening in the public domain. You hear people talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. They just listen to news, radio, television. When they hear the comment of somebody, then they will amplify that comment ignorantly without reading the bill and understanding the content of the bill. So that is the one that is enjoying the greatest controversy. Of course, others too are enjoying some controversy. The Nigerian tax administration bill, because it is in that bill that the new sharing formula for VAT was stated. VAT have been extensively explained or described in the Nigerian tax bill, but how to share the proceeds of VAT have not been captured there. That provision could only be seen when you go to Nigerian tax administration bill, which is the bill that has been designed to show how the tax authorities in the country at the federal level, state level, and local government should be relating with one another so as to avoid conflict, so as to avoid a situation whereby all of them may go to a taxpayer with different dimension of claim. The bill was designed to achieve this main objective, to resolve the conflict that has been happening between tax authorities or even revenue generating agencies. Because when you talk about the revenue, we shouldn't be talking just about the tax revenue. You have revenue that custom is collecting. That bill, second bill, is saying that customs should no longer be involved in collecting revenue. It is the Nigerian revenue service that should be collected. Customs, let them take care of their responsibility of checking item coming in, item going out, which is another area of clash. These custom people, they are used to collecting money. Okay, and they are used to, many of them, a lot of allegations are there as to how they are collecting this money, how they are not remitting the correct amount. So now, collection of custom duty will no longer be the responsibility of custom official, custom service. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should be collecting. The same thing with all other agencies of government that are considered as revenue centers. So that bill has made adequate provision to show that they know the moment this bill is passed into law, they don't have any power to collect revenue. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should collect. Let them deal with their own responsibilities of stabilizing the economy, ensuring control over consumption, over production, over whatever. But then collection of revenue is not their own. And then between the said Internal Revenue Service and the Nigerian Revenue Service, there should be harmony. If there are revenues sources that are difficult for the said revenue service to utilize in generating revenue, they can bring in, they can collaborate, or they can reach agreement with the Nigerian Revenue Service to do the collection and then share the amount collected as per the agreement, or take cost of collection as per the agreement and then give the State Internal Revenue Service or even local government revenue committee what they deserve. So the expectation of the Nigerian Revenue Nigerian Tax Administration Bill is to bring about harmony and understanding. So how that could be brought about is a question to be answered. Because of the nature of Nigeria, the nature of official, and the way the people put their eyes on money. They want to be the one collecting money or keeping money or doing something with money. And now you are saying that all those that are used to that, they have to they will be suspended from doing that, or they will be banned from doing that. It is only that agency, the Nigerian Revenue Service, that will be doing it. So there are some issues there that are calling for a question, okay, understanding among the agencies involved or the tier of government involved, and then of course patriotism to ensure that whatever we do as revenue collectors, as treasury managers, as revenue utilizers for the execution of various projects, we demonstrate ethics, we demonstrate honesty and integrity. The revenue agency itself, before now, the revenue agency is behaving as if it is for the federal government. And this bill that has been sent to the National Assembly is encouraging the Nigerian Revenue Service, which will now replace the Federal Revenue Service and the law that established it. It's encouraging it to consider itself as a federation agency, not federal government agency. It is to be serving the interests of the federation. And so the concern of the state should be addressed by that agency. The concern of local government should also be addressed. It should be an agency that should be mentoring local government revenue agencies or tax authorities and state government revenue authorities or tax authority, so that they carry themselves together as a team, then ensuring that we have very good tax system in the country, that we have adequate revenue generation on taxation, which should be put to use for executing various projects that will bring about sustainable development in the country. So when you look at all the provision made in the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, they are talking about the need for harmonious working relationship. They're talking about the federal Nigeria Revenue Service to serve as the model to state revenue service and local government revenue committee, so that they have very good understanding in implementing the provision in the Nigerian tax bill and the Nigerian tax administration bill. So all the provisions are like that. And then provision have been made adequately as to the position of the executive chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service, the need for governing board, which will have that chairman as the chairman, the need to have the technical committee at the state level, and who are to be members of that committee. representation to be drawn from various MDAs and other agencies of government and federal government into the committee, and many other issues. And even at the local government level, there is a need for revenue, local government revenue committee, which should be chaired by the councillor in charge of revenue or finance at the local government level, and who the members are and their function. So when you look at all the provision there shouldn't be any controversy. Even if there will be controversy, it should be less. And it should be something that could be resolved. For example, personally, I will not support a situation whereby the chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service should also be the chairman of the board. This is against corporate governance system. And then the same person will be the chairman of the technical committee. The same person will be the chairman of the revenue joint committee, where all the representatives for local government will be members and other agencies. So it will be as if the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will become the alpha and omega on all revenue issues in the state. And that person may even be seen himself to be more powerful than Commissioner of Finance. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I was serving as the supervisory person on all the activity in the Internal Revenue Service. The chairman of Internal Revenue Service should be reporting to me, should be taking orders to me. He shouldn't be going directly to the governor. But the provision is showing that the chairman of Internal Revenue Service is equal to the commissioner. And in fact, they were even saying that governor is just to nominate him and has to go to the House of Assembly for clearance. Just as commissioner will go to House of Assembly for clearance. And there is no provision to show that this person should be answerable to the Commissioner of Finance. So something like this, I think many people may not see it. But with my own experience as a Commissioner of Finance, who have been intimately related to the Minister of Finance that time, I know the problem many states were facing as they empower the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service, they empower too much the Accountant General against the Commissioner of Finance, who should be the supervisor to all these agencies of government. So issues like this are there, and appropriate action need to be taken by the National Assembly in correcting the lapses in the bill. Then the last one, which is about institutionalizing revenue board. Okay, a revenue board. Before we have joint revenue board. Before we have joint tax board. So now that joint tax board is an appendix of the personal income tax. It's just under personal income tax. So now the drafters of the bill, they will want joint revenue board to be on its own, have a law supporting it, so that at the federal level, where we have the chairman of the Federal Revenue Service, he will now serve as the chairman of the Joint Revenue Board. Then all the chairmen of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will be members. Ministry of Finance will have a representative. Ministry of Budget and Planning will have a representative. And you have some other agencies of federal government that may send representatives into that board. So that board will be taking decision on monthly basis on where improvement should be made, how to solve problems between one tier of government and another, and many other things, which will be very, very beneficial to the president or the Federal Executive Council, and then beneficial to governors and the various state executive council on fiscal policy and on utilization of taxation to generate revenue and on utilization of the revenue being generated by these agencies. Because many people are having the feeling that the agency, they collect this money and they spend the money. But in real sense, they only collect. But they remit to the government, into the treasury of government. So while they collect, they have the responsibility of collection, they don't have the power to spend a kobo from the amount generated. It is the government that takes care of that. So the Joint Revenue Board has been given a lot of responsibilities in that bill So when it become act, become a law of itself, so the Joint Revenue Board will now be more powerful than what we know before as Joint Tax Board. So this is just the summary of the bill that have been sent to the National Assembly for passage into law. Yeah, my concern is that we need reform in our tax system. As a student of taxation, I have the belief that no economy can make any progress if it doesn't have a good tax system. Most of the economies of the world, or I can say all of them, all the developed economies of the world, they are tax-based economies. And most of the natural resource-based economies, they are among the backward economies in the world. Look at it. All the members of OPEC, none of them is part of the G20. They have the revenue, they have the oil, they are producing it in great quantity, but they are still being considered as developing economies. Well, when you look at UK, Germany, France, US, other countries like that, they don't claim to be having enough revenue, enough oil to refine for their use and then to export the excess for sale. They don't claim for that, and that's why they don't belong to the OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They base their economy on taxation, but then they have very good tax system, which is just attracting minimal complaint. And the moment they hear some complaint from either the taxpayers or the tax administrators, they take appropriate action immediately, so that at the end, nobody will complain. And because of the reliance on taxation, the citizen of their countries, both natural and artificial person, companies and individual, the citizen of the country, as they pay tax, they have the right to demand accountability. They have the right to demand prudence. They have the right to demand transparency. And for that, those impositions of austerity, they are always in fear that whatever, if they steal a kobo, people will shout, this is our money. We contributed this money for execution of progress that will amount to a project that will amount to sustainable development, not for the money to be stolen. So this person that is stealing money, appropriate legal action should be taken against him. Sometimes you hear some leaders being hung. Sometimes you hear some leaders being shot, the firing squad, because of the misuse of public money. So members of the public that are contributing this money in the form of taxation, they complain. And then they insist on appropriate action to be taken. So before you come out and claim that you want people to vote for you to go to the parliament or to be the governor or the president or whatever, you will have it in your mind that when you go there, you touch public money, that may be the end of your life. Because that the contributors of that money will be, their eyes and attention will be on the money. And the moment you misuse it, they will take appropriate action against you. Your image will be tarnished. You may even lose your life. So those economies that are considered as developed, they rely substantially or totally on taxation for their development. And then those economies that are relying on natural resources, oil, cocoa, solid mineral, whatever, as they use the money from this to execute project, the members of the citizens of that country, both natural and artificial, they don't care if they see them stealing the money and abusing the money, because it's not their money. It's not their own contribution to the economy. Number one, the prohibition on VAT. which you said earlier has attracted a lot of attention from leaders in the northern part of the country, but could be addressed in two ways. Okay, the first way affect everybody, and then the second way is what the leaders in the north are complaining about. The first way is on the increase in the VAT rate. Increase in the VAT rate. We have never had a situation whereby progressive increase will be brought to VAT rate in any country in the world. From my reading, I have never experienced it. But this is being brought about in Nigeria through these laws. They said VAT rate now, which is 7.5%, as per the Content of Finance Act 2020, will be increased to 10% from January 2025. Just about a month away. If the bills are passing to law, VAT will be increased to 10% of all VATable goods and services. And then just 1 year after, 2026, it will be increased to 12.5%. Then you have a small raise for 3 years. By 2030, the rate will be increased to 15%. So you can see the progression in the increase of VAT. And the moment you increase VAT rate, inflation will come up very powerfully, especially as you are increasing from 20 to 2025, 2026, you are increasing 2.5%. So the goods and services throughout the country, you see their prices going up. And there is no separate market for VATable goods and services and non-VATable goods and services. No separate market. Don't just feel that when you increase VAT rate, the increase in price will be on VATable goods only. All other goods and services, their prices will go up. And how do you survive that? Nigerians now are complaining about fuel subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal, and many people have become unemployed. Many people have become disabled. Nobody, no any earner of salary can claim to be saving anything for investment. People are borrowing money to top up to the income that they have for survival. And those that have no work, they are complaining. We just finished induction for ICANN. About 3 inductees met me that if I have any chance for them to get employment, you are qualified as a chartered accountant and you are looking for jobs. So what about the secondary school leavers, diploma holders, and other people that have not even attended school? So unemployment is on the high side. And increase in inflation is a killer to businesses. Because when you don't have people buying, you have to stop production. You have to stop providing services. And when you stop production, you sack your employees. And then you have more people go into the employment market and labor market. So increase in the VAT rate is a very big killer to an economy. And this is a problem that affects all the state in Nigeria. And our president himself in 2020, I could remember, when they are trying to increase VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%, he came up and warned the government that this increase in VAT rate will be harmful to the economy because of the inflation that it will ignite. That was during his, I think, 68 or 69 birthday lecture. When he was to comment, he talked harshly against the increase in VAT rate. And now the same government is accepting the bill to go to the National Assembly for increase in VAT rate on a continuous basis. So I see this as a very big mistake. The timing is very wrong. And then the policy, the idea of progressively increasing VAT rate, especially as Nigerians are complaining about the subsidy for subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal. So this is one thing that needs to be looked into. And as we are interested in generating more revenue through taxes, particularly consumption tax, we have to be very careful about the consequences of the increase. And this is for the whole country. So that is one part. The second part is about the sharing of the amount that will be generated. Yes, right now, when VAT is generated, internally and of course the one for custom. They put it together and share it using vertical formula and horizontal formula. Vertical formula between federal government, state government, and local government. So federal government takes 15%, state government 50%, local government 35%. That's how they share it vertically. And then for local government and state, since they are not at the same level in terms of population, in terms of level of economic development, in terms of weight for industrial development, so they have to use the separate formula. And they agreed that 50% of whatever belongs to state government should be shared equally. 30% should be shared on the basis of population. And then 20% should be shared on the basis of derivation. And that derivation, in the simple language, is about the contribution of every state to the VAT that has been generated. And at the local government level, they are to consider the contribution of each local government to the VAT that has been generated. Okay? So at the state level, when you say contribution of every state on the VAT that has been generated, consumption is much more in some state than in some other state. But then the formula, the derivation, the term derivation, this date, that is being applied now, is giving priority to state where the head offices of companies providing services and goods are located. You do consumption in Adamawa on services, maybe the chat card, and other communication or telecommunication services, or bank services, or insurance services, whatever. So since you are just dealing with the branches there, the head office of the bank producing these services is in Lagos or in Rivers or whatever. So it will be deemed as if you do the consumption there. And so the credit will go to Lagos or Rivers or Ogun or wherever, where the headquarters of it is located. Not where you do the consumption. So at the end of the day, you see that states like Lagos, its own contribution may be 50% or 60% or more every month. At the state like Rivers, its contribution may be about 15% or 20%. Abuja may be about 10% or 50%. And then the heavy consumers, the northern state, like Kano, which is a commercial center, its own contribution may be 1% or 2%, because it doesn't have the head offices of the companies providing these goods and services that are being consumed there. So at the end of the day, you see that 20%, if it is 6 billion, for example, if it is 6 billion, for example, so 60% of that 6 billion will be about 3.6 billion. That will go to Lagos. And then 10% of that 60% may be about 600 million. It may go to this. And then you, the consumers, you may get 1% of that. So you can see that particular 20% is the crux of the matter. That is the basis of the controversy. So now that this bill has been submitted to the National Assembly, then these people have saw that this derivation has been increased to 60%. 60% instead of 20%. Now, not previously, right now, 20%.
Not right now, 20%.
And it has been jacked up.
It has been jacked up.
And the depreciation has been jacked up. And then in the law, derivation has not been defined. But then people have to go by what is happening now. As they go against it. Since now the derivation is about contribution of state that are producing these goods and services being consumed. So they have the right to just say that, oh, so now instead of 20%, it will now be 60%. And then you hear the government functionaries, including members of the committee, saying that no, that's not what they mean. They mean area of consumption. this 60% graduation is about consumption area, not location of the headquarters of company that produce the good or services. You should have defined that in the law. When you say the issue of derivation has been increased to 60%, but what we mean by derivation is this and that. So that controversy will have been avoided. Or you go under the interpretation section. And so as you are interpreting this, and then you say derivation. By derivation, we mean this, and that. That has not been done in both the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So you can sympathize with the people complaining. And then if it goes like that, if they don't correct it at the National Assembly before passing into law, the moment it is passed into law, they will go back to this issue. The solution is that they will just go back to a pleasing state where the headquarters of the companies are located, because there is no definition that says that it is about consumption. So everything needs to be documented. Yeah, in a society that is well informed, you should always talk on the basis of evidence. And evidence in accounting, we said you prioritize when you are to prioritize between two evidence, verbal and written. Written is more important than verbal evidence. Okay, and that is why in court, even if you say you give verbal evidence, they want to write it down and read it for you. Then you sign, or you put your thumbprint that yes, this is your comment. Because written evidence will continue to remain. Verbal evidence could be denied in a later day. So these are two issues, all based on that. And then you can appreciate why people are talking too much on this matter, to the extent that they don't even care to notice other lapses that in the act. But they, as student of taxation, I have to read and try to pinpoint lapses that need to be corrected so that we have a perfect reform on taxation or on revenue generation in our dear country. So you see, I saw provision on development levy. That there will be development levy. And that development levy will be 4% of accessible profit of companies whose turnover is more than 50 million per annum. So their accessible profit, 4% will be charged as development levy from 2025 to 2026. From 2027 to 2029, development levy will be reduced to 3%. From 2030 and thereafter, development levy will go down to 2%. So that development levy will be the reason for wiping out other development levies that is used by some government agencies that are providing vital services for this country. You have TED Fund, Tertiary Education Trust Fund. Now they are relying on 3% of accessible profit of companies for all the projects that they are executing across the country. TED Fund, as I hope you know it very well. So it's the one that is most of the infrastructure development in federal university, federal polytechnic, federal college education have been executed by TED Fund. They sponsor lecturers of various institutions to go for further study, to attend conferences. And they have what they call National Research Fund. They take care of all the researches that are being conducted by all these tertiary education institutions using that money. So TED Fund will now get some share from this new development levy. And then you have NIDA, Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, which is given the mandate of making Nigeria to become an ICT economy. And that agency is relying on 1%. 1% of the profit before tax of GSM companies, banks, insurance companies, etc. These are companies that are pushing for ICT technology development. So the agency is the one to be monitoring the activities and they want to be funding ICT development in various institutions and taking many other measures which should take Nigeria to ICT economic level. You have NASENI, Nigerian Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. So that is an agency that has been given the mandate to make Nigeria become science and technology economy, to promote local manufacture of cars, local manufacture of motorcycle, and many other things that we show that we have grown up as an economy that can compete with all these developed economies. So that agency is also relying on a particular share, I cannot remember, from what internal, I think, Federal Revenue Service is collecting. And now the government has introduced NEL fund. So NEL fund is collecting 1% of the total taxes, levies, etc. that are passing through the Federal Revenue Service. So these are 4 agencies of government that are relying on levies, charges, etc. for them to take care of the mandate given to them. So this development levy is designed to ensure that 3 of them are phased out systematically. Only NEL fund, which is for giving loan to students, will survive. By 2030, that 2% that we are talking about, from 4% to 3% to 2%, the whole of that 2% will be for the NEL fund. Well, all these have been put aside. It's up to the government to decide whether to disband them or to put them into the mainstream budgeting system. So in 2025 to 2026, TED fund will get 50% of that 4%. And NEL fund will get 25%. NIDA will get 20%, NASEMI will get 2%. So by the end of 2026, NASENI, NIDA will no longer get anything from that development levy. So they will be on their own. It's up to the government to decide whether to cut them out or to continue to fund them through the budgeting system. And then by the end of 2029, TED fund will not be getting anything. Well, from that 27 to 29, they said TED fund will be getting 66 and 2/3%. And NELDA will get 33 and 1/3%. That is what will happen for 2028 and 2029. By the end of 2029, forget about TED fund. It is only NEL fund that will be getting that 2% development levy that will be charged. So you can see that by 2029, all the 3 agencies that have clear mandate for moving the Nigerian economy forward, they may either be passed out or they may be taken back into the mainstream federal government budget. And agencies that are used to being independent, are going to working on target, how can they survive under the mainstream government budget? So the other implication is that as you have only NEL fund, even before transferring everything to NEL fund is there to give loan to students. All this money that will be coming to you just for giving loan to students. So this shows that a Nigerian student will mainly become debtors. And when they become debtors, will they have the mouth to complain about the government being a debtor nation? Nigeria as a whole becoming a debtor nation. Every day loan is increasing. So students too will now become debtors. Secondly, the federal institution, all these federal universities, they are not charging tuition fee up to now. They only charge registration fee. University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Bayero University, Kano, ABU, all these federal universities, and many of the state universities, they don't charge tuition fee, just to encourage children of the poor to attend university or polytechnic or colleges of education. So as TED fund is put in place, nobody can claim that he or she cannot pay tuition fee. And then no university or polytechnic should be going to government asking for money. In fact, government may even give them target of the amount that they should be remitting to the government. Because you are charging tuition fee, you are charging registration fee. You are having enough money to take care of yourself. And then we want you to remit something to us because we own the Federal University College of Education Polytechnic. So at the end of the day, you see that students will become debtors, students and their parents who insist on making sure that their children attend universities or polytechnic or college of education. And then the universities will no longer be complaining about insufficiency of funds. Because private universities are not complaining of it. They have their founders who are funding them and they are charging fee. Some are even charging 2.something million per semester. In Nigeria here, some are charging 2 million, some are charging 1.5 million per semester, and some per session. And so they have a lot of money to execute various projects, to pay high salary to their staff. And then the private universities, they are complaining that no money. When you go to go, they say no money. Even for execution of project, they either take one to do it for you, or you go cap in hand as for support from individual and organization to execute project for you. But now that you are allowed to charge fees, and the student, if they don't have money to pay, or their parents don't have money to pay, to go to NELPO to collect loan for the payment of the tuition fee and the registration fee, and even for living costs. And the method is very clear that when you borrow such kind of money, you will start making repayment 2 years after graduation, and even 2 years after graduation until you get a job to do. And then from the job that you are doing, you'll be paying 10% annually up to when you finish paying the loan. How will that be feasible in Nigeria? How will that be feasible? So this provision too is a matter of concern. Yes, for people that will look about what will happen in the future. Look at the implication of the policies contained in that bill. Okay? So I'm of the opinion that to correct these lapses, they should just stop at the first formula. When you collect 4%, you increase the rate to 3%, as again to 4%, as again 3% for checkpoint, in order to accommodate other agencies, and you stop charging the other day. And then, so the first year they said 50% will go to third fund, which is like reducing what third fund is getting from 3% to 2%. I hope you understand. When I say 50% of 4, that is 2. Before third fund is getting 3% of the accessible profit. So we can manage with the decrease from 3% to 2%. And then NEL fund, which is the baby of the government, will give you 20%. Okay? Then NISDA, which is having very clear mandate of making the Nigerian economy an ICT economy, 20%. Then NASENI, 5%, saying we don't care much about the technological development that may come to manufacturing cars, motorcycle, etc. We give them 5%, and then allow them to look for means of further funding themselves. So you stop at that, but not to scrap any of these agencies. So that's my own advice. Okay? So that is another important area that needs to be addressed in this bill before they are passed into law. In taxation, as I said, we encourage payment of what you can afford. A situation whereby, this is my own personal opinion, yes, and people may feel that I am in support of taxing the poor. No, I'm not talking about the poor. Anybody that doesn't have income, that doesn't have profit, that doesn't have gain, it should not be considered for taxation. But if you are making some gain, you are making some income, no matter how small, and you are paying something, no matter how small, out of what you are gaining, that will make you to have greater moral right to challenge government. But if you are put outside the tax net, you are not contributing anything, you don't have much more right to come and challenge the government for inefficiency, for poor accountability, for poor transparency. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I had called to be organizing some town hall meetings with small, medium, micro, small, and medium enterprises across the market that we had in Kano. I will invite their leaders and inform and address them. You see, we are introducing presumptive tax. We are doing that with a view to ensuring that you own the government. You own the government. This government belongs to every one of us. But then those that are contributing money into running the affairs of the government, into executing various projects for the state, they have greater stake than those that are not contributing anything. And no matter how small your contribution is, you have the right to claim ownership of government. So many of them were encouraged. So I say, okay, you are in this business, you are at this level. How much can you afford to pay as your presumptive tax? So we say they themselves, yeah, they will accept, yeah. So there was a time that we had meeting with some of them. I was saying that you are too small, or maybe every month you should be contributing 100 naira. Some say no, if that group of people can contribute 150, we can contribute 200 naira every month. Through engagement, interaction with the micro, small, and medium enterprise, you can arrive at something that they will be contributing in the form of presumptive tax. And that payment will make them to have the pride of becoming taxpayers. And they will be having their eyes on how government is spending the money. But the situation whereby you come openly and say that you are pushing away about 90% of the people out of the tax net. So you are only relying on 10% of people for the payment of tax. So you are saying that you are now taking the whole of the government to 10% of people, or probably 1% of people. My worry is about that threshold. The fact that you have threshold does not mean that somebody that is not at that threshold, who is making money, cannot contribute with a view to owning the government. I hope you understand. My concern is about ownership. Taxation is a way of owning the government. So if I pay tax, like now I pay tax, I know every month they deduct something out of my salary as a lecturer in the university. I will look at my pay slip and see the contribution that I have made. So if I need tax clearance certificate, I can go there and collect it, whatever reason. But you that are not paying anything, what tax clearance will you ask for? Okay? And then if something bad is happening in government, you see them stealing money, do you have any right to complain? Is it their money? What have you contributed there? So a situation whereby we want people to be economically empowered, to own government. And then we are now having a reform that is saying that is even proud to say that about 90% are made not taxable, even presumptive tax. So in other words, I am of the view that as we claim for transactional tax to be paid by the rich and luxury asset to be taxed as that are at the lower level, they should also be paying some presumptive tax, even if it is 10 naira per month or 20 naira per month, so that those rich people claim that the government belongs to them, this one too will say, yes, the government belongs to us. So provision like this is not there in the act. All they are just claiming is that they have pushed people away from the tax net. And pushing them away from the tax net, just pushing them away from ownership. So you are just surrendering the whole of the government to very few people who will now be teleguiding those in the position of authority. And you will just be asking for help all the time. Where you can also claim ownership with pride, or no matter the amount that you are contributing to government. The other aspect of it is this absence of adequate provision in the Act on property tax. Property tax, yes, property tax. Like I was talking about luxury asset. Those with luxury asset, they need to be taxed on the value of this luxury asset so that we generate more revenue. Those that are doing transaction of high volume of money, they need to be taxed for this transaction. That's what we call transactional tax. So you can see that as we are talking of relieving the poor or income earners from tax, from this tax rate, we are not talking much about taxing the rich in the bill. It is not clear as to how properties of the rich people in this country who are very small. Someone was even telling me that in Nigeria, where you see 99% of the wealth of the country is in the hand of 1% of the people in the country. That 99% of the people of this country, they own only about 10% of the wealth of the country. What a gap! If this is true, we have not done any study empirically to ascertain this figure, but you can see some sign of it, and you need taxation to bridge the gap. And then as you are arguing for the bridging of the gap, you now have a reform that is throwing away 90% of the people from the tax net, and then the people drafting the bill are even proud to say it. So I have reservation on this. If I find my way, I will agitate for appropriate correction to be done. And that does not mean that I'm agitating for the taxing of the poor. I'm talking about those that can afford. They are not for the personal income tax rate, but then they pay presumptive tax with a view to owning the government, with a view to ensuring that the government is not allocated to only the very few rich. And then these few rich, in the other way around, there are no adequate provision, there are no clear provision to see how their wealth will be taxed. No. If you look at all the statements that I've been making, there's nowhere that I mentioned that the North is having this agitation. I'm just talking to you about areas of concern in the law. Areas of concern. I think I only made reference to the North when it comes to this issue sharing of VAT, that the governors and traditional rulers in the North, they are forced to raise alarm, and they raise alarm on this matter only. But all the other matters that I mentioned, they have not said anything. Maybe they have not seen them. They don't have this perspective that I have. Okay, so I am a Nigerian first before becoming a Northerner. So I talk as a Nigerian. My concern is about the Nigerian people. And the Northern people are also part of Nigeria. Yeah, you see their position, or the worry they express is just about the injustice they suspect from the issue of VAT collection and sharing. Had it been that provision has been made perfectly, I doubt very much if they will complain. And then secondly, they may be having the suspicion that the drafters of the bill were just reading the mind of the president. A president who was a governor in Lagos State, who developed, people are just having the feeling that he was the one that developed the Lagos agenda, which is about making the Lagos State to have a special status in Nigeria. And special status is just about maybe putting it into a position higher than other governors, but not up to the level of the federal government. And then when you are targeting that special status position, then a lot of things could be designed that will be favoring Lagos. So those that are attaching the bill, one, they are doing that in view of the
afternoon to you and welcome to the World News here on SOUQ News Television. We're reaching live from our studios in Lagos. I am Grace Komalafe. First, let's bring you some of our top stories. Taiwo Oyedele says there will be no deductions from personal bank accounts while implementing the new tax laws taking effect from January 1, 2026. Stakeholders in Nigeria's oil and gas sector calls on the federal government to re-implement a 15% ad valorem levy on imported fuel. Mali and Burkina Faso announced travel ban on U.S. citizens in response to restrictions imposed by President Donald Trump. United Nations General Assembly approves $3.45 billion for 2026 to tackle the organization's core missions. And now Nigeria closed out Group C, defeats 10-man Uganda 3-1, breaks the deadlock in the first half with a close-range finish. Thank you for joining the World News here on SOUQ News Television. Now I bring you the news in details. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has assured Nigerians that the new tax laws taking effect on January 1, 2026 will not involve automatic deductions from personal bank accounts. He emphasized that the reforms are based on self-declaration, not direct debits, ensuring taxpayers retain control over their funds. Oyedele dismissed claims suggesting the government would monitor or withdraw money from individual accounts, stressing that taxpayers are only required to report their income at the end of the tax year. People think that government will debit their bank account from next year, and how they even came up with that, I have no idea. Nobody will debit your account for any amount you transfer, he said. He added that whether one transfers $1 billion or 1,000 naira, the responsibility is simply to declare the amount at the year end, promoting transparency and voluntary compliance. The House of Representatives Committee on the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, has insisted that the Commission's proposed 1.75 trillion naira 2025 budget must yield tangible development outcomes for communities across the Niger Delta. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Ehia Take Ibori Sueno, made the remarks on Tuesday during the NDDC's budget defense session at the National Assembly, cautioning that lawmakers would not treat the proposal as a routine legislative formality. She stressed that the budget should go beyond figures and reflect measurable progress for residents in the oil-producing region. Ibori Sueno added that the budget represents renewed hope and opportunity for millions in the Niger Delta, emphasizing that it must be people-centered, transparent, and strictly aligned with national development priorities to ensure accountability and equitable growth across the region. And our Nigeria produced 443.25 million barrels of crude oil between January and October 2025, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission reported. The data shows an average daily output of 1.46 million barrels, slightly below the country's OPEC quota of 1.5 million barrels per day. This indicates Nigeria achieved about 97% of its production targets over the 10-month period, reflecting intermittent gains that were not enough to fully meet the benchmark. Monthly analysis revealed January recorded the highest output at 47.70 million barrels, while February recorded the lowest at 41.2 million barrels. The report highlighted ongoing challenges in sustaining peak production, even as Nigeria remains Africa's largest crude oil producer. Officials continue to explore measures to boost output and ensure compliance with international oil production agreements. Still in the news, stakeholders in Nigeria's oil and gas sector are calling on the federal government to implement a 15% ad valorem levy on imported fuel while enforcing at least 30% value addition to raw materials before export. The industry players urge the government to adopt a decisive Nigeria-first framework aimed at reversing the country's long-standing dependence on imported petroleum products. They stress that policy enforcement must be backed by concrete measures to strengthen domestic production and processing capacity. According to the stakeholders, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, should establish its own internationally accredited laboratory and advise the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, on domestic supply potentials. They added that building a thriving oil and gas processing and refining hub should be central to NMDPRA's mandate, ensuring the country maximizes local content and enhances energy security. Nigeria is set to receive 5 vessels carrying 2,250 units of used vehicles at the nation's roll-on roll-off terminal this week, as easing pressure in the foreign exchange market encourages import activity. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, forecasts that the value of such shipment will rise to 1.3 trillion naira in 2026, reflecting a rebound in passenger car imports. According to the Nigerian Port Authority's shipping position, 4 of the vessels will dock at Port and Terminal Motor Services Limited, PTML, in Tinkan Island Port. Glovis Challenge and Grande Angola will each deliver 350, Abidjan 600 units, Great Cotonou 500 units, while 5 Logistics Limited will offload 450 units from the Great Tema vessel. NBS data shows the value of imported passenger cars rose to 1.1 trillion naira in the first 9 months of 2025, up from 894.9 billion naira in the same period of 2024, an increase of 113.15 billion naira or 12.66% year-on-year, signaling a clear turnaround. Away from that, a heavy-duty truck collided with the presidential bridge at the popular CMS bus stop on Lagos Island this morning. The incident happened at the early hours of Wednesday at about 7:47 a.m., prompting heavy traffic gridlock on the ever-busy road. Preliminary investigation revealed that the incident badly damaged 2 other vehicles and injured 2 commuters. The Lagos State Transport Management Authority were also cited on the scene of the accident, redirecting traffic and providing assistance to vehicle alternative routes and manage the scene of the accident. Reports has it that last mile officials arrived the scene early enough to carry out their functions, as no deaths were recorded during the incident. About 10 Nigerian states are adopting several approaches to tackle the issue of capital project funding in their 2026 budget. The approach aims to support ambitious infrastructure and development projects amid limited conventional funding. Economists note that the growing dependence on borrowing is less about inadequate revenue and more about inefficiencies in public fund management, highlighting the need for better fiscal discipline to reduce debt reliance while sustaining development priorities. Our correspondent, Onyipreye Krumale, brings us more analysis on the story. Onyipreye, what do you have for us?
2026 is here, and the economic realities are not only staring Nigerians in the face, but also the subnational government. Now, about 10 states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria are trying to source more than 4 trillion naira from loans, bonds, capital receipts, grants, and also effectively deploying the instrument of public-private partnership to fund the capital projects in the 2026 budget. Now, we begin to witness a scenario where the subnational government are beginning to move away from non-recurring financial models to other non-conventional models in funding budgets across the states. Unlike before now, the state's government depend on the monthly federation account allocation coming from the central government. They depend on instruments like value-added tax and other statutory transfers. But now these governments and these governors at the subnational level are taking a different approach to funding their budget. An example in question is Lagos State, that is currently having more than 4 trillion naira as the budget for 2026. Now about 26% of that budget will be gotten through loans, grants and bonds. Abia State also has a budget a little bit above 1 trillion naira and is looking forward to have about 40% of that budget being handled through loans, bonds and other receipts coming from non-conventional means. Now, a very, very close neighbor to Lagos State, Dakwa Abiodun from Ogun State, has a budget of 1.6 trillion naira and is looking forward to use loans, bonds to sponsor about 31% of that budget capital projects in 2026. For many Nigerians that have been spewing out criticisms against the government, most of the accusation leveled against both the central and the subnational government is that whenever these loans are obtained, some of these projects that the government said they deployed the loans to execute are not even visible to the citizens. But on the part of these governors, the subnational government, they are saying that the 2026 budget performance will operate at an abysmal level if these loans are not obtained. I am Oyinpriye Krumale. Back to you in the studios, Grace.
Priya for that analysis. And still to come in the news, Taiwanese government heightened vigilance following China's large-scale military exercises around island. These and many more to come in the news. Please stay with us.
Dr. SOUQ A. Adedeji, whose leadership has significantly transformed Nigeria's tax administration, is a distinguished first-class graduate in accounting from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
I firmly believe in the wisdom encapsulated in the statements. Revenue growth is the lifeblood of a nation's economy, providing means to fulfill essential duties to its citizens. These words capture the core principle that will guide us as we navigate the challenging terrain ahead, ensuring that our nation thrives and fulfills its obligation to its citizens. In our pursuit of a greater fiscal future, we are determined to align ourselves with President Bola Tinubu's Extreme Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee. This collaboration will enable us to shape the prosperous fiscal landscape that will empower our nation's growth and development.
Born on January 8, 1978 in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Nigeria, Dr. Adedeji is an accomplished accountant and public officer with extensive expertise in corporate taxation and public finance. His journey in public service began in 2011 when he was appointed as Commissioner for Finance in Oyo State. In that capacity, Adedeji introduced transformative financial reforms, most notably the establishment of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) to streamline government revenues and expenditures. In March 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Adedeji as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council (NSCDC). In this capacity, he founded the Nigeria Sugar Institute and spearheaded the Sugar Backward Integration Program, which sought to enhance local sugar production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. In June 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed Adedeji as Special Advisor on Revenue, and by September of that same year, he had ascended to the position of Executive Chairman of FIRS, Nigeria's leading tax authority responsible for the assessment, collection, and management of federal taxes.
The focus will be on these indirect taxes, so that as long as you consume, you have to pay. As long as you have interest on your investment, you have to pay. And this is echoing Mr. President's message that we are not going to tax the seed, but we are going to tax the fruit. The fruit is what we focus on. So all those things, when we have this holistic process, it will be captured, and that the vision is to have a progressive tax, that if you earn more, you pay more, and if you earn less, you will not pay.
Under his leadership, FIRS exceeded its 2023 revenue target of 11.55 trillion naira. As chairman of FIRS, Dr. Adedeji implemented a performance-based system aligning with the service's new slogan, simplifying tax, maximizing revenue.
Dr. SOUQ Adedeji has done incredibly well in transforming and reforming the tax processes and procedures in Nigeria. In a little over a year being at the helm of the affairs of the tax body in Nigeria, we have seen a significant improvement in revenue generation. His policy of not crumbling business with taxation is something that also needs to be applauded. SOUQ Adedeji philosophy is taxing fruits and not the seed, and taxing prosperity, not poverty. Because if you look at the fiscal landscape of Nigeria in the past 10 years, you find that businesses have struggled to live, and that has led to the exit of so many businesses from Nigeria. But with this new reform, we're seeing that the businesses will profit from the reform processes, and that will mean more business for Nigeria. We will have a lot of foreign inflow in terms of foreign direct investment that will actually drive
Glad to know you're still with us. Now we'll bring you more stories. Mali and Burkina Faso have announced a travel ban on U.S. citizens responding to restrictions imposed by the Trump administration earlier this month. The West African nation cited reciprocity in separate statements issued by the foreign ministries on Tuesday. The move comes after President Donald Trump added Mali, Burkina Faso, and 4 other countries to a list subject to a full U.S. travel ban on December 16. Officials in both countries stressed that the decision was a direct response to Washington's action and part of a broader diplomatic effort to assert equal treatment in international travel policies. The ban affects U.S. citizens seeking entry into either countries until further notice, with authorities urging travelers to monitor updates from the respective foreign ministries. Analysts note that development could escalate diplomatic tensions between the West African nations and the United States. Away from that, Egypt's Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources on Wednesday highlighted major achievements in the oil, gas, and mineral sectors, emphasizing increased exploration and diplomatic domestic production to meet local demand. The ministry said strategic incentives, timely payment to foreign partners, and clearance of past arrears have restored investor confidence and attracted new capital inflows. As a result, the country halted a 4-year decline in natural gas and crude oil production. About 430 wells were brought online in 2025, adding nearly 1.2 billion cubic feet of gas and over 200,000 barrels of crude oil and condensates to domestic outputs. The boost helped reduce the nation's reliance on imports and strengthened energy security. Operations at the SOUQ field resumed, with new wells contributing significantly to production. SOUQ now accounts for roughly 25% of Egypt's total gas output, making a major milestone in the country's energy strategy. And away from that story, South Korea's foreign exchange authorities sold a net $1.745 billion in currency market intervention in the third quarter of 2025, central bank data showed on Wednesday. The amount more than doubled the $850 million sold in the second half, highlighting Seoul's active efforts to stabilize the won amid mounting depreciation pressures. This marked the fourth consecutive quarter of dollar sales by authorities amid curbing the won's decline against the U.S. currency. Over the 3-month period, the won weakened by about 3.7%, reflecting concerns over capital overflow, global interest rate trends, and economic uncertainty. Analysts said the interventions underscore South Korea's determination to prevent excessive currency volatility, particularly as a weak won can raise import costs and fuel inflation. While dollar sales may provide temporary relief, long-term stabilization will depend on broader economic factors and investor confidence in the region. Moving on, shares of major Indian steel firm rose between 2% and 5% on Wednesday following the government announcement of a 3-year import tariff on select steel products from China. The safeguard duty aimed at protecting domestic producers from cheap imports will start at 12% in the fourth year, drop to 11.5% in the second and 11% in the third. Officials said the measure seeks to strengthen local production and curb unfair pricing practices that have pressured Indian steel makers. Market analysts noted that the tariff announcement boosted investor confidence, lifting sharp prices as it signaled stronger government support for the domestic industry. Traders also expect the levy to encourage local consumption and reduce reliance on foreign steel, potentially reshaping trade dynamics between India and China over the next 3 years. Taiwan maintained heightened vigilance on Wednesday following China's large-scale military exercises around the island the previous day, keeping its emergency maritime response center active. The Coast Guard reported continuous monitoring of Chinese naval rendezvous as part of the defensive posture. The drills doubled just Mission 2025 involved China firing dozens of rockets towards Taiwan and deploying a significant number of warships and aircraft near the island. The exercises demonstrated Beijing's military reach and capacity, drawing concern from Taiwan's Western allies about regional stability and the potential for escalation. Taiwanese authorities said the operations were closely observed to ensure national security and maritime safety. Analysts warn that such shows of force could heighten tensions in the Taiwan Straits, complicating diplomatic relations and potentially affecting trade routes. Despite the threat, Taiwan reaffirms its readiness to respond to any aggression while calling for international support. Moving ahead, China announced on Wednesday that it will impose additional tariffs of 55% on beef import from selected countries, including Brazil and the United States, once shipment amounts exceed established quotas. The Commerce Ministry said the measure aims to manage import volumes and protect domestic producers, noting that the tariffs will apply for 3 years starting January 1, 2026. The policy will affect exporters who surpass the set quota thresholds, potentially reshaping trade flows and pricing in the global beef market. Industry observers warn the new tariff could disrupt supply chains and lead to higher beef prices internationally. Exporters are now reviewing shipment schedules to avoid exceeding the quotas and incurring the levy. Analysts also suggest the move could trigger diplomatic discussions between Beijing and affected countries, given the scale of trade impacted. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi sharply criticized Japanese Prime Minister Sani Takachi on Tuesday, accusing her of openly challenging China's territorial sovereignty. Wang's remark, delivered at a Beijing symposium, came after Takachi described a Taiwan emergency as a survival-threatening scenario that could trigger action by Japan's self-defense forces, raising bilateral tensions. Wang also accused Japan of failing to deeply reflect on its wartime past, including its pre-World War II invasion of large parts of China. He said Japan's current leadership challenges not only China's territory claims, but also the historical inclusion of World War II and the post-war international order, signaling growing diplomatic friction between the two nations. Sino-Japanese relations have been increasingly strained amid disputes over history, security, and regional influence. Wang's comments underscore Beijing's sensitivity to Taiwan-related statements by Japanese leader and highlights the continuing volatility in East Asia geopolitics. Still to come, U.S. drug makers set to raise price on 350 branded medications in 2026, including COVID-19 vaccines. These and many more stories we bring to you after this break. Please stay with us.
Cocoa has more than tripled in costs over the past year and is up 129% this year. The rise in cocoa prices is likely due to a global cocoa shortage. Climate change-induced drought has ravaged crops in West Africa, which contributes around 80% of the world's cocoa output. According to the International Cocoa Association, global cocoa supply will decline by almost 11% over the 2023-24 season. The world produces nearly 6 million tons of cocoa beans each year, and consumers may begin to feel the impact of this shortage by the end of this year or early next year. Nigeria's cocoa earnings in the first quarter of this year surged by 279%. Driven by a sharp increase in its prices in the international market. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBC, indicates that in the first 3 months of the year, the value of cocoa exports totaled 408.66 billion naira. This represents an increase of 279% from the 179.5 billion naira recorded in the first 3 months of 2023. When compared to the preceding quarter, total cocoa exports increased by 138% from 117.29 billion naira recorded in the preceding quarter. Despite the significant depreciation of the naira in the first quarter of the year, the dollar value of cocoa exports saw a significant increase both year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter. There was a 63.3% increase in the dollar value of Nigeria's exports between the fourth quarter of 2023 and the first quarter of 2024. Using the closing rate of the dollar to the naira at the end of December 2023, cocoa exports for the period stood at $188.83 million. This increased to $312.19 million at the end of the first quarter of 2024, using the exchange rates at the end of March. Year on year, the dollar value of exports in the first quarter of 2023 stood at $223 million. Bayo Olaoye, SOUQ News.
Fellow Nigerians, did you know that constituency and executive projects in your communities are not gifts from your legislators? They are projects sponsored by the legislators and funded by the federal government to improve your life and the lives of those around you. These projects belong to you. Without your vigilance, they might never be completed. Don't allow them to fade away into unfulfilled promises. Stand up, take ownership, monitor their progress, demand accountability, and report concerns to ICPC. Call our toll-free line now on 0800 2255 4272 or WhatsApp only on 0806 656 4726. This message is brought to you by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, with support from MacArthur Foundation and the Center for Democracy and Development in Africa, CDD.
Glad to know you never left. Now we'll bring you the rest of the story this afternoon. The United Nations General Assembly has formally approved a $3.45 billion regular for 2026, concluding weeks of intensive negotiations. The 193-member board authorized $3,450,426,300 to fund the organization's core mission, which include peace and security budget, sustainable development, and the protection of human rights. The budget is part of ongoing UN-80 reforms designed to improve efficiency and strengthen the UN's global role. UN officials noted that the funding will support essential operations worldwide, including peacekeeping missions, humanitarian aid, and development programs. Member states emphasized the importance of predictable financing to sustain long-term initiatives addressing global challenges. The approval marks a key milestone in ensuring the UN can continue fulfilling its mandate while adapting to evolving international priorities, reinforcing its capacity to respond effectively to crises and promote global stability. Mexico is set to implement sweeping new import tariffs on Thursday, targeting mostly Asian countries, in a move largely aligning its trade policy with the United States. The tariffs approved by Congress in early December aims to protect domestic industries and reduce dependency on imports from nations without free trade agreements with Mexico. Under the new measures, most tariffs will rise to 35%, affecting goods from countries including China, India, South Korea, Thailand, and Indonesia. China is expected to bear the greatest impact due to the volume of its exports to Mexico. The Mexican government said the adjustments are designed to promote local production and safeguard jobs while ensuring compliance with broader trade frameworks. Economists warn that the tariffs could increase costs for businesses reliant on imports and may trigger trade tensions, but the government maintains that the measures are necessary to strengthen domestic industries and foster long-term economic resilience. The U.S. drug makers are set to raise prices on at least 350 branded medications in 2026, including vaccines for COVID-19, RSV, shingles, and the blockbuster cancer treatment Ibrance, according to data from healthcare research firm 3 ASIC's advisors. This represents a noticeable increase from last year when price hikes were announced for over 250 drugs. The median increase for the upcoming year is projected at around 4%, matching the trend in 2025. The planned adjustment comes amid pressure from the Trump administration, which has urged pharmaceutical companies to lower costs for consumers, highlighting ongoing tensions between government cost control efforts and industry pricing strategies. Healthcare analysts warn that these prices rises could impact patient access to essential medications, particularly for chronic conditions and vaccines, even as companies urge that the increases are necessary to fund research innovation and distribution of new therapies. Still in the news, oil prices slipped on Wednesday, extending a year of decline driven by oversupply fear, geopolitical tension, and tariffs that have pressured global market. Brent crude for the future fell 20 cents to $61.13 a barrel, marking a 18% drop for 2025, the steepest annual percentage decline since 2020. This puts Brent on track for a third consecutive year of losses, the longest losing streak on record. Analysts say the slump reflects a complex mix of factors, including higher OPEC Plus outputs, sanctions on Russia, Iran, and Venezuela, and hedging by the U.S. shale producers at elevated prices. BNP Paribas commodities analyst Jason Ying expects Brent to slide further to $55 a barrel in the fourth quarter of 2026, before stabilizing around $60 a barrel as supply growth moderates and demand remains flat. Market watchers caution that near-term bearishness may continue, while oil prices sensitive to global production changes and geopolitical developments throughout 2026. Away from that, Nigeria closed up Group C at AFCON 2025 with a flawless record, defeating 10-man Uganda 3-1 in Fez. Paul Onuachu broke the deadlock in the first half with a close-range finish, giving the Super Eagles an early lead. The contest swung further in Nigeria's favor in the second half when Ugandan substitute goalkeeper Jamal Salim handed the ball outside his 18-yard box, resulting in a penalty opportunity. Raphael Oyedika converted, emphatically scoring twice in 4 minutes to steal the win. Despite being reduced to 10 men, Uganda managed a consolidation goal through Rogers Mato, finishing a neat move. Nigeria topped Group C with maximum points, while Uganda's elimination was confirmed. The victory showcased Nigeria's attacking depth and defensive resilience as they prepare for the knockout stage. Lastly, on the news, the New York Knicks hope to build on a 3-game winning streak when they visit the struggling San Antonio Spurs on Wednesday, seeking to repeat their NBA Cup final success. The team meet in the in-season tournament final on December 16 in Las Vegas, where the Knicks triumphed 124-113 in a game that did not count towards regular season standings. Since that encounter, both sides have won 5 of their next 7 games, but the Spurs had shown signs of vulnerability in recent matches, creating an opportunity for the Knicks to extend their momentum. Analysts note that key players from the bench contributions will be decisive in shaping the outcome. The matchup pits 2 of the league's top teams against each other in what promises to be a high-intensity game, with the Knicks looking to reinforce their position as serious contenders this season. And as a wrap on the news this afternoon, but before we go, here is a quick recap of today's top stories. Taiwo Oyedele says there will be no deduction from personal bank accounts while implementing the new tax laws taking effect on January 1, 2026. Stakeholders in Nigeria's oil and gas sector calls on the federal government to re-implement a 15% ad valorem levy on imported fuels. Mali and Burkina Faso announced travel ban on U.S. citizens in response to restrictions imposed by President Donald Trump. And United Nations General Assembly approves $3.45 billion for 2026 to tackle organizations' core missions. And lastly, Nigeria closed out Group C, defends 10-man Uganda 3-1, breaks the deadlock in the first half with a close-range finish. And that's the news this afternoon. We say many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us via our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. My name is Grace Komalafe. Do have a great afternoon and Happy New Year in advance.
I hail from Lagos State, from Isaleko. My father hailed from the Olumegbo family. I attended my primary, secondary education in Ibadan at the time because my mother was there. But my religious practicing was always done during the holidays at Holy Cross Cathedral. I was working in the sacristy. We used to prepare for the Mass on Saturdays, and we sell the news magazine on Sundays in front of the church. And I remembered fondly that we used to tease a man called Sunday Boku Boku at that time, and he used to run to chase us and throw stones at, how dare you call me Sunday Boku Boku. Those were fun times. Harvest, Corpus Christi. And I was born, raised, baptized, confirmed, married in the Catholic Church. But I got married to Engineer Larry Phillips, who is an Anglican. And I believe that in togetherness of family, it's best we all do things together. So I moved over with him against the doctrine of Catholic Church to the Anglican Church at Marina, where his family belongs and worships. I attended St. Luke's Demonstration School. We used to climb the mango trees, and there was a mixed school. We used to play at during break time. And in my secondary school was a Catholic school. And it's for you to be prim and prudish in life, and set you on as a lady. And I got some finesse from there too. And but the most interesting one, and the most that I can call a radical one, was my HSC in Olivet. I mean, we tried all sorts there. But it was fun and highly educative too. Sportsmanship was there. And from there, I proceeded abroad for my accountancy. And I was lucky to finish in a record time, and I came back. Did my articleship, but married in between. I met my husband abroad, and we came back home, got married in Nigeria. I worked as an accountant with USC, very proud of the drill professionally that I got from USC. It had set me on a discipline for working, and I thank God that I had that opportunity, which still helps me today. Apart from the fact that my educational background sets me to be a diversified person in so many professions. And as an accountant, accountancy is the best of all. It's the creme de la creme. And I've been able to fulfill my professional exposure in every species of responsibilities that I had opportunity to take upon me. And from USC, I proceeded to work for the bank. I went to politics. I became a commissioner in Lagos State, served with the present president of Nigeria. And you know how Lagos is. Lagos is like a country to other states. We went through governance. My team, as you can see, I have some of my colleagues in Abuja now. I have Honorable Minister Wali Edun. I have Honorable Minister Dele Alake. I have Honorable Minister Yemi Cardozo, and so forth. And I served in the bank as a director in Keystone. I've been a chairman of so many committees, you can say that again, in different aspects of life, professional, political, social, and currently I'm now the chairman of SOUQ Insurance PLC. When I was growing up, it was so free and enjoyable. We can take off at 11, 12, escort your friends to Bangboshe here. We go and have the Mosa. We go to the stadium. I remember me in my teenage age, I used to go to Nikon Stadium here. We watch so many matches, and I used to be with those fans, you know, dancing and waving our fans, you know, and bazaars, Easter Mondays, Fela Sports, I mean, you name it. It was fun. But Lagos was good for all of us. It was cleaner. It was amazing. Security isn't much to fear, you know. You can just live the way you want. And money and values of life are completely different to what they are today. I was with my grandparents, and we had so many tenants, and we didn't realize they were tenants. We were all playing together, eating together, and we are still like one family today. But the story is not the same again. I wish one can turn around and change it, but we have all given our kids sheltered life for the fear of unknown. And I think the disadvantage is very grievous. I think first and foremost, God gave me the chance, the opportunities to pass through that in the journey of life. It's not only money that can make you successful in life. I want you to get that. It's an added support for you if in life you have the opportunities of parents who can financially support you. But at the same time, there are kids who didn't have any financial support and have been successful. So to me, success is about self-determination. I grew up around uncles and aunties who are thoroughly educated, and I've always had it behind my ambition that I must be in that cadre. And thank God the opportunity was there for me, and I seized it. And I remember myself telling my kids, when I was abroad, I never lived like my father was a rich man. No. I was behind the desk reading and reading till I got successful. And I passed in record time. First and foremost, I think I'm a people's person. Secondly, my educational background. Thirdly, my pedigree. And you can't be a Lagos person and don't have a bit of intelligence about how you can maneuver yourself, even in the midst of challenges. And I can tell you that boardroom politics, especially when you're a woman, is tough. But when you manage those that you sit around with, eventually, when they see that you're there to work, it has no business and basis for any other thing. I've had issues on boards because I'm female, and I put my foot down. It is the work we are doing. There is no gender sensitivity in this issue. Even in my early days as an accountant, when I head the accounting department, it was even tough at that level because the young accounting class, some of them can be daring to say, how can you talk to me like that? How can you make it? And I'll say, please, what do you mean? We need to get this target work done. So it's the work that is talking. That's not to do with whether I'm a man or a woman. So I will like the idea of gender reasonableness to be better played. At least for now, we are not having it at 3 1/3, no. But I guess we are in the region of 20%. And it should be better. You give a woman a chance, she will devote her life to it. But, I mean, when we have 1 or 2 issues from women who have been there, that should not create hurdle or boundary that you say a woman shouldn't cross. No. Nobody's perfect in life. And I want to let you know, it's tough for a woman. These men, when it is a woman having a corrective measure to be taken, they do not handle it the way they do for the men. They're in a rush to pack the woman out. You see from what has happened all over the world. So I will still make an appeal that women should be given better chances, better allowances. It's so quick to make a woman a scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb. Let's take it easy. And please, women, when they put you there, make us proud. I should remember the other women coming after me. If I make this trouble now, they turn around and say, this is why we don't give them the chance to get to the top. So you manage the situation, you know? And let us remember that Africa is still very chauvinistic. It's still a man's world here. We are only trying. So just give us, for now, our required 33 1/3% as per Beijing recommendation. Having been in politics, there are so many factors that bring you up there. Some sensible, which I would call sensibilities. Some sensitive based, which I would call sensitivity. And some as per geographical distribution. If it's not the turn of your section, your district, there's no way they can put you there. But then sometimes it's the turn of your district, the party supremacy decrees that they don't want to use you. What do? You have to show some resilience as a stable character and do whatever you are given very well. Excel. Somehow, one day, you'll be there. Like Martin Luther King. At the end of that tunnel, I can see the light. Someday, somehow you get there. I was in tourism shortly, and it's not enough time to propagate the excellence of your work. But in special duties, I give the ministry class. I was able to represent my Lagos State very well. NYC was under me. Proudly, I served. And we ensure that all students that need to go to orientation camp are well registered and got their NYC certificates. It's not about where they put you, it's about what you are able to do in that place. And you do it even to the enviable eye of somebody who believes has the best ministry with a lot of funding and allocation. I'm different in that respect. A hard-working man, a man with a lot of sagacity, a man that is very kind, he has human kindness in his heart, a man that is highly focused. My office was very close to the Roundhouse, and I tell you, I wasn't surprised. And I kept telling everybody, I wasn't surprised he got a clinch that position, because I knew that even when in 99, from the day we stepped in, he's been working towards his election in 2003. So a man like that who is focused, his business is the end of the tunnel. All the distractions you are given, he doesn't consider it. So don't waste your emotions. When you provoke yourself unnecessarily, and the person you are provoking yourself upon is not even responding on that line, you're wasting your time. But he's an astute politician. He knows what to do at every point. And don't try him, because he's a hard knock. And he's easy to forgive. That bit, I don't know how he does it, but it's easy to forgive and move on. He understands politics, maybe from a young age, I don't know, but he seems to have the knack of it at all times. I think that's in the pipeline. I don't have to come here to say that. And even in the insurance company industry that I am now, I'm propagating that, look, you need to take it easy. Is it at these hard times you want to recapitalize the industry and make life harder? Yes, recapitalize, but not with large gap. The variance should not be too much, because you need to recapitalize so that companies will be solidly based to address financial issues and risk issues that we have in the country today. I studied religion for my A-levels in school. I did divinity. It's not just reading Bible. The interpretation, the history, the analogy, all of that I did. And it has helped to shape me for life. It has molded my conscience to a large extent. What I see in religion today, if I go back to the way I have studied religion, I will say I'm worried. The way we have churches established in this country now. I'm talking of my experience in Lagos State. On the street, you can find 6, 8 churches, but there is no school. Education is key. Religion molds the character, the moral values about life. I'm not saying they are all totally condemned, but I think there should be more conferences and seminars to appeal to their conscience. It's one God. And in Lagos, the families, both Christian and Muslims, and the third religion, which is the native religion, we all interact and live together. And usually you find out that all of them talking about this God. I am a Christian. I talk about my God. And I don't denounce anyone in any other religion that faithfully talk about their God. And I don't allow that to affect a lot of decisions that I have to make, and didn't affect a lot of decisions that I had made. The expectation is too high. We are still a developing country. The awareness of covering up your risk is not too much there. In terms of life insurance, in terms of property, people are not still there. People don't cover themselves well enough. They take unnecessary risk. I'm glad Lagos State Governor is saying everybody must have a health insurance now. That, again, will expand the scope of the insurance business. In insurance, there are so many seminars, there are so many conferences that are being put up there now, where the ability to educate the masses, and even the high-ups one, to please insure yourself. And when I say yourself, your life, your property, your children, and see how far it goes. It is important. And you know, in this era of insecurity, it is highly important. Just make sure you insure yourself. And with what the governor had proposed now, definitely Governor Sanwo-Olu did well. Health insurance is key. Health is wealth. First and foremost, inflation all over the world has gone haywire. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Those who live in the Western world, they're crying hula baloo about the price of petrol, the price of even eggs. So it's not just Nigeria. Let us wake up and see that we're in a global world and everything is intertwined. The issue of the central bank now trying to manage inflation, these are not easy times all over the world. They're not easy times. And when I say we are a developing country, we are still trying very hard. I don't want to say it's sad. It depends on the environment. You know, you can't just bring UAE here into Nigeria. The environment here from inception has not delved too much on tourism. Your tourism is just go on holiday and go back. The beaches are there. And even from 1999, they are trying to redevelop along the beach so that tourist activities can happen. And I'm sure they're still on it. They need tourist attraction where you have every aspect of life when tourists come over. But with the problem of infrastructure that we have, in the country. You can't do much tourism for now. It wasn't easy, but as I said, once you try to be a bit methodological about it, then you get by. Because from the days I came back from England, starting a family, working in large corporations, they just ensure that the home front solidly settled. And it wasn't that easy, because you know that I'm talking of almost 40 years back. To be able to excel amidst men, you probably have to do 2 times, 3 times more than them. I'm lucky I have a husband who accepts me being what I am. Because if you have a partner that does not appreciate your ambition and your dream, he will not support you. But I have the support of my husband, and we are able to keep the home together. Make sure that his food is given. Make sure the kids are well looked after. And make sure the husband is well looked after at all times. And don't grudge. I try to give myself to people in terms of needs. I try to recognize people's needs, and at the moment of that need, I try to help. And it's a legacy I try to sound to my kids at all times. Recognize needs at that point and do it. Because at the point that you recognize it, if you don't offer the assistance, it may not be meaningful again. But if at the time that a need arises and you can do it, promptly do it. And I cannot manage people who are not sincere. I cannot. And that is the only thing that bothers me about life. And once I find out that they are not one way, I make my U-turn and I don't go back again. And that's one thing I have learned, I have seen, and I'm trying to learn from Mr. President Bola Tinubu. The way he can switch from being so hot and then swim as if nothing happened and carry on. That is tough for me. And I hope I'll be able to, within the space remaining, I'll be able to copy that. At the same time, I like hardworking. I recognize people who are hardworking, who are intelligent, and I recognize people who are hardworking and need to be helped in terms of training to be a better person. And I like fun. Now let me start with that girl child. That girl child is not so common again. At least most female children are educated now. Outside Lagos, girl child is a big reference. Yeah, I think everybody should be given equal chance to make a life, and a life worth living and contented with. Because if you don't have enough drive and motivation, then life becomes static and you just wear it out and go. But I believe that for women, don't let the men scare you off. You are equally hardworking and intelligent. Expose yourself, but don't mess yourself around. Don't get corrupt. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. And there's one good prayer. Everybody that knows me, and I always say, my God is a just God. His judgment is always fair. So whoever hurts you, attacks you, leave them to God. He's a fair God. The judgment of God will come. Just move on and pray that in your lifetime, that judgment comes up. My favorite food, I like eba and ewedu. I'm an expert in cooking. I love cooking, and I tell you, I can challenge anybody to come and compete with me. On that level, I score a good card. But I love fresh fish, with ewedu and eba. I'm not too much of an amala fan, and my favorite color is green. Or it's green, but with that green, I love bright colors. Even jewelry, it has to be bright for me. But still worn in a conservative way. As loud as whatever I pick may be, I still give it a conservative umbrella. I love to dance. I'm a good dancer. I love to socialize. I'm a good mixer, but highly disciplined.
Sweet silver bells all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is the song with joyful ring. All
As the year winds to a close, with the spirit of celebration filling the air, Lagos once again comes to life with the magic of Christmas. Across the city, from Victoria Island to the Ikeja metropolis, one of the most captivating sights of the season is the breathtaking display of Christmas decoration mounted by corporate organizations ranging from banks, malls, hotels, and major service companies. Every December, these buildings transform into the radiant spectacles of light and color, turning ordinary streets in the city of Lagos into festive corridors and giving Lagos an enchanting warmth and glow at night.
In Lagos, the Christmas season is not just a date on the calendar. It is an experience, and as night falls, the city's skyline changes. Corporate organizations, banks, hotels, and business complexes compete creatively to spread the beauty and the spirit of the season, illuminating the city with the dazzling Christmas decorations. Beyond aesthetics, Christmas carries a deep meaning, a season of love, joy, giving, and togetherness. For many Nigerians, it represents a time of reflection, gratitude, and renewed hope. And these dazzling decorations amplify that spirit, providing a sense of unity and collective celebration. In places like Marina, Allen Avenue, Ajose Adeogun, and Admiralty Way. Entire streets have become tourist attractions, drawing families, photographers, and fun seekers at night to admire the capture, the sparkling designs. For businesses, it is a way of giving back to the community, contributing to the joy of the season, lifting spirits, and promoting the culture of the Christmas season.
So I mean, the whole decoration I can see around, it's already telling me in person that okay, it's time to smile more. It's time to be happy.
The beautification is key because it makes people feel, oh, this is Christmas. It's at the end of the year. I really appreciate people that we are able to still be able to do that. And for people that are not able to do that, we understand.
So this is the time for you to have a lovely time with your family, with the community, with your friends, your neighbors, and then your loved ones. It's time to share love. It's time to reach out. If you haven't been doing so, and if you've been doing so, okay, continue. Reach out and call for probably a link of where do we meet, where do we do this, where do we do that, how do we have a nice time this festive season. And
if you cannot do that, that does not mean that you are not celebrating Christmas, and it's still Christmas period. So try to be happy, and also remember the season, the reason for Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ. So that's the reason.
Many described it as a moment of escape, a reminder that despite the hustle and bustle of life in Lagos, joy still finds a way to shine through.
Let me start by saying congratulations to every businesses that have survived till date. Individuals or organizations, there's a way we find a way to survive, we find a way to keep it up. So that's one substance in our DNA that keeps us relevant as Nigerians, as a people living in the global space. We know how to survive, we know how to keep it up. It might not be like business as usual, but some people still find a way to keep that beautification and those signature moments on for the season. Yes.
It does, because it makes us to realize that the Christmas is actually here. And we can also vibe into the feeling itself. But when you have absence of it, it just looks like a normal day, and before you know, you don't really feel that Christmas impact. So unless maybe go of the churches where you're having carols here and there, the Christmas has actually subsidized. In time past, from October, beginning of October, you already start seeing the festive period, activities are going on. But over the past few years now, past decade now, all those activities have become low-key. So it's dry. I don't know if because of the economy or other factors, but that real Christmas spirit has really gone down.
you could celebrate Christmas in your own way. I mean, if you can't travel to see your family, probably try to video call them. If you can go out to a less expensive place, if you could get your friends and family small gifts. I appreciate companies that also do 13th month and Christmas parties. I mean, people have been working the whole year. This is like a break and like a job well done. And so yeah, I wish Lagosians, Nigerians, and everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
From hotels welcoming guests with elegant festive displays to banks adorning their entrances with lights and ornaments, these efforts collectively shape the seasonal identity of Lagos, a city known for its energy, creativity, and resilience. Christmas in Lagos is more than a celebration. It is a shared canvas of hope, color, and community spirit. And as the light shimmer across the skyline, they remind us of the true essence of the season: joy, love, and the magic of togetherness.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Epega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Epega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi, at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like 50, almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London, I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there, I finished. As I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think that those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos was, should I say, Abuja was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day. And NTE used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan. We'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200+ million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive. Hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion. where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Nigerian man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why, with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing? And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally we take ownership of our country. The NOC civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me, as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people, because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country, because our youths and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 18th, 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation, that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, you won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. And I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, we know. And the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, JAPA in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you're treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home. I mean, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home as well. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera, but they sing it with pidgin English. And you know, pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak pidgin in Hawaii. They speak pidgin in China. They speak pidgin, Old English Cockney is pidgin. American even is a form of pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She's an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that, and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the Meneme people, who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the Meneme people say to God, please, give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these Meneme people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. You must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities, and these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that played instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing parts in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, They're also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry, and we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also Chinawood, because China's film